right now. So
Okay,
you
okay, he's there. Okay, let's start. Okay, can you just, okay. Okay, so welcome on behalf of Gujarati Society. Dr. Soham Patel is a triple board certified in internal medicine, endocrinology, and lifestyle medicine. He has done his fellowship in endocrinology. He is passionate about addressing root causes of the disease and optimizing health. And this has led him to establish lifestyle-centric endocrinology practice in Tampa, Florida. He always encourages his family, friends, and patients to adopt a healthy lifestyle. He emphasizes on plant-based food to be included in our daily meal. Let's welcome Dr. Soham Patel. Dr. Patel, floor is yours. Dr. Patel will speak will talk about for 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll have a brief round of question answer. Dr. Patel.
Thank you. We have a late start, but better late than never. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time from your Saturday to come here and listen to the next 45, 50 minutes. I'm going to share my screen here quickly. All right. So this is a talk for education, information purposes only. This is not my professional medical advice in any shape or form. Please consult with your physician for individual treatment and changes. So we're gonna go through some fundamentals here of what is disease, what leads to disease, and how can we work on improving things. So the word literally means dis-ease, meaning our body is not at ease anymore. That's disease. And we are made up of 5 elements, as we know from our Indian heritage. We're made up of 5 elements. Mismatch and changes in the 5 elements leads to a lot of disease. There's buildup of toxins in our system, which leads to issues down the line. Modern medicine is been geared towards addressing symptoms, but not really addressing the root cause of disease. And so if you just address symptoms and without addressing the root cause, you reach a point things don't seem to work and you have to keep adding more and more medications. When I'm talking about chronic diseases, things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, many types of cancers, different autoimmune conditions, these all are stemming because of lifestyle. Anybody who is not muted should please go ahead and mute themselves so that we don't get any disturbance. There are 3 main processes, broadly speaking, that lead to disease. Number 1 is insulin resistance. What it means is your body is producing insulin, but it is not able to do the effect it is supposed to do on the liver and the rest of the body. And that requires your body to produce more and more insulin, and that in simple terms is insulin resistance. We'll talk more about
or diabetes, I guess.
acute inflammation is when we get 5184, who that is, please unmute yourself. Please mute yourself.
Yes, I'm doing that.
Acute inflammation is when we get a cut on our hand and there is a of cells that allows that cut to be healed up. But if that process keeps happening 24/7 in the body throughout the blood vessels and tissues with a lot of inflammatory molecules being released, that leads to chronic inflammation, which leads to more diseases because it changes the way the body processes things, the way the cells can function, and that leads to different diseases. And lastly, buildup of toxins, like I mentioned. Our 5 elements get messed up when there is buildup of toxins. There are so many pesticides, preservatives, um, chemicals in our environment, in our food, in our air, water, things that we are surrounded with. And that buildup also leads to the cells not functioning properly, which eventually leads to organs not functioning properly, leading to diseases. So broadly speaking, these are the three main issues which lead to disease. If we talk more about how insulin resistance works, when we consume more than 15% of our daily calories from food in form of fats, it starts building up more fat inside the liver cells. Now liver cells do store some fat, but when it starts going high, the insulin receptor that sits on the surface of the liver cells to which the insulin binds, that receptor doesn't function properly. So then, and there's a very detailed chemical reaction why this doesn't happen, but to keep things simple, as you see, I'm broadly showing it through the slide. So one, you have excess fat intake that starts interfering with liver's and muscles' ability to process insulin through a dysfunctional insulin receptor, which then leads to glucose being trapped in the blood and not being utilized by the tissues, which then leads to more production of insulin by the pancreas. And that process keeps going round and round, and you initially are told to be pre-diabetic, and then you're told to be diabetic, then you put on metformin, and then other oral medications, and then maybe a shot or insulin. So unless you address the root cause of insulin resistance, you will keep adding more and more medications and suffer from the effects of the disease. So if we broadly look at where we are, this is almost an 11-year-old slide, 12-year-old slide, but I think it's still pretty true. Where do we stand in terms of our food consumption? So as you see that big pie in the center, yellow portion, which is 63%, is processed foods. So foods which have been highly processed with, processed grains, oil, sugars, added fats, preservatives. The majority of food that people are consuming today. 25% is coming from meat and dairy and different types of animal foods. And only 12% comes from plant foods, but even that 12%, you see there are two shades. One is a dark green, one is a lighter green. Only 6% comes from real fruits, vegetables, beans, and whole grains. The remaining 6 is still coming from processed plant food. So, for example, if you eat a fig bar, that is considered plant food, but it is highly processed versus eating an actual fig. So the goal is to move from 6% real plant foods to more than 90% real plant foods, trying to avoid all this processed stuff and the significant portion of animal foods that people are consuming. So how do we get back to ease? We talked about disease. How do we go back to ease again? So like I mentioned, cleansing the 5 elements, Panch Bhut Shuddhi is a Sanskrit word that you may have heard time to time. We'll talk a little bit more about what type of foods, focusing on actual wholesome plant foods, activity, relaxation, keeping a positive mindset, and detoxification, which goes back to cleansing of the elements. So 5 elements, we are made up of water, air, fire, sky, and earth. The predominant element is water. 70 to 72% we are made up of water, about 6% earth, and remaining 3 make up the rest of it. So when we get away from our natural elements balance is when we start having problems. We don't spend time outdoors anymore. We don't expose ourselves to sunlight and fresh air. most of the times. We are in the house or in the office or in closed settings. Have you ever wondered why when we take a shower, we feel so fresh? Because the predominant element that is in our body, which is water, is we are connecting with that element. And that's why 99% of people enjoy taking a shower. There may be some who don't like, but majority of people enjoy when they are taking in water because our body feels in line with its element. When we're walking bare feet on grass or some part of soil, that connection with the earth creates exchange of ions, which helps us detoxify because we are surrounded with all this electronic media, tablets and phones and laptops and TV, which actually interferes with our body's energy meridians. That electromagnetic field radiation is actively interfering with our body's energy cycles. And so there's a buildup of a lot of negative energy. And so when you go for a walk in the sand or on the beach barefoot, you actually allow your body to ground and balance that energy. When you get fresh air, fresh sunlight, you allow your air and sky element to balance. People go for these retreats and then they do a mud bath and they feel better because they're connecting with the earth. So in some form of routine where you can include connecting with nature is going to help you keep your elements in balance. It doesn't have to be a special retreat. It doesn't have to be hundreds and thousands of dollars. It could be simple things, going for a walk in the nature, taking some fresh sunlight and air, and focusing on the right things. Something that I would mention about water. Water, which is predominant part of our body, should be consumed in the right manner. So rather than taking water from a faucet directly, because it goes through so many twists and turns, which changes its crystalline structure, you want to store water in a glass jug or a container, and you may put some mint leaves in it or some sliced cucumbers to add some alkalinity, and keep that overnight and then drink from that water the next day. So it allows the water to settle down. It doesn't have all that negative energy by twists and turns, and it has alkalinity by those things like mint and cucumber and ginger. Those are great examples. And then you want to consume enough water at a time, not sip through it, but drink enough water at a time so the body can adjust what it needs and get rid of the excess water. And if you keep constantly sipping on water, then the body has to constantly keep adjusting the level of sodium balance with the water, and that allows changes to the brain. So drink enough water, drink more so in the daytime than later at night, but try to have water in the right form. So having water that is been kept steady overnight in a glass container, and adding some alkaline sources like mint leaves or ginger or cucumber. Don't spend money on getting an alkaline water filter. You can make it yourself by just making the simple changes. So the next step is to stop the crap. CRAP is an acronym here. As you see, it stands for C for carbonated drinks, R for refined sugars, A for artificial processed foods where there is so many additives and preservatives and dyes that it is not real food anymore. It is completely chemical mix. And P for processed, so baked potato, baked sweet potato, even better, is a wonderful food. But if you turn it into French fries, then it's not so healthy anymore. So, and going back to the carbonated drinks, I want to emphasize that don't go from stopping regular soda to having diet sodas. Diet drinks also still have artificial sweeteners, which are very damaging to our microbiome, the bacteria that we carry in our gut. And it also stresses the liver, it also causes weight gain. So don't go from diet or regular to diet. You just want to avoid all that processed junk. And more so, it is completely acidic. Our body is a bit alkaline. So if you consume things or drink liquids which are acidic, like seltzer water or this flavored waters or carbonated drinks, you are acidifying your body, which causes more inflammation and causes buildup of toxins and disease process like high blood pressure and cancer and diabetes. So make sure you're avoiding this common uh, characters which can really affect your health badly. A very simple concept but very important concept is to understand caloric density. What it means is the quality of your calorie is more important than the quantity of the calorie. So what you see here on this slide is there is a series of 5 different stomachs lined up, and each stomach has 500 calories worth of particular food. As you see on the right side of the screen, rice, potato, beans will fill up 80% of your stomach. Fruits and vegetables will fill up the whole stomach, and that's 500 calories. But if you look at any type of meat, white or red, doesn't really matter, only 40%. Cheese, only 20-25%, and oil, only 10%. So what's happening is our stomach doesn't have calorie receptors. It has receptors for volume expansion. So if you eat foods which can expand more volume in the stomach, it allows your body to feel satiated, and it tells the brain that you've eaten enough, stop eating. You're not hungry. And you're still getting lesser calories because the volume of food you get versus the calories you get from whole plant foods like rice, potato, beans, or fruits and vegetables is very favorable. Whereas if you eat animal foods or if you eat processed foods like processed grains or refined oils, you eat very small amount and you still get more calories. So your body still tells you you're hungry because your stomach hasn't expanded enough. So you have to eat more, and obviously you pack up more calories. So the discussion has to go away from just calorie counting to actually focus on what is the quality of the calorie that you focus. And if you eat the right quality of calorie, you will find that you are able to eat a lot more volume of food without feeling hungry all the time, feeling satisfied, and still getting less calories. So this whole calorie counting mindset, eat less, exercise more, is not true if you don't focus on the right quality of the calorie. This is a very busy slide, but I'll break it down. It has loads of information. So on the left side of the screen is the plate that we want to work towards, making it a routine. And on the right side is a list of different colors of fruits and vegetables. And the letters are small, but the idea that I want to get through is 8 out of 10 Americans do not eat enough color in their diet. And it's not the artificial colors I'm talking about. I'm talking about natural colors that we get from different fruits, vegetables, and beans. And so there is a list of different colors. You can see 74% people don't eat enough red, 76% don't eat enough purple and blue, 69% don't eat enough green, 83% don't eat enough white, and 80% don't eat enough yellow and orange. Overall, we are averaging somewhere in the 75% range that we are not eating the variety. And it's not that you have to eat all this color variety in a single day. As long as you're eating things through the week and according to the season, you will find that you're getting a healthy mix of different colors which are loaded with antioxidants which can benefit you against diabetes, against heart disease, against cancers, against brain damage and stroke. So each color has a benefit that is coming naturally from the fruits and vegetables. And also the fiber that you're getting from these foods, because that fiber is the key to optimize your microbiome. Our body, as I mentioned, carries trillions of bacteria in our gut, and if we don't have the right type of bacteria, we don't have the right health. It is that simple. So as you add more variety of food, coming from whole plant sources, you find that you can get a better, healthy, and a diverse microbiome. Not just one or two types of bacteria, but millions of varieties of bacteria based on different types of foods, because each fiber from a fruit, a vegetable, a bean, or a whole grain will promote a different good bacteria in your gut. So taking probiotic supplements is of no value if you're not supporting it with the right food. You want to think of it as probiotics are this best quality of seed that you can get, but if you don't provide that seed with the right soil, the right fertilizer, the right water and sunlight, it is not going to turn into a plant. In the same way, if you take a probiotic, but if you keep eating foods that are high in fat or high in oils and processed, chemicals, you will keep killing those probiotics and promote the bad ones, which will lead to bad diseases. On the left side, that plate you see is actually been recommended by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which I'm a diplomat of that, board certified in lifestyle medicine. And as you can see, 50% of your food should be coming from fruits and vegetables. And 25% should be coming from varieties of beans, lentils, and some nuts and seeds. So you get different types of plant proteins. And keep in mind that animal protein coming from meat, eggs, dairy is actually more inflammatory. And it's very hard for the kidneys to process that. So there is tons of data which shows that people with kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, in the setting of diabetes or high blood pressure would actually benefit and they can improve their kidney function to a large extent early on if they make the changes by adding a lot of beans and lentils. So there is no dearth of protein in the plant kingdom. There is protein found in fruits and vegetables and beans and whole grains and nuts and seeds. There is enough, more than enough protein. So this notion that I don't get protein is not at all based on data. There is enough protein. All you need is to eat enough volume of food. If you eat enough volume of food, but because it's loaded with fiber, you can eat a lot more food, stay satisfied, not feel hungry, have the best energy, and work on healing your body from chronic diseases. And the last segment of that plate is having enough, variety of whole grains. So, especially in the Gujarati culture, we have seen that there is preponderance of focus of just eating wheat and rice. Gaon and chokha, two things is what we focus on, and that is we are losing out on a lot of variety. So you want to focus on gaon that is not turning to maido, but gaon that is still like fada. Fada gaon is better than maido. Brown rice is better than white rice. There is rajagro, there is tangra, there is kodri, there is bajri, there are jowar, there are tons of other grains which are available to us. We have quinoa here available as well, oats, whole grain oats. So variety of grains which we can partake. So not just focusing on one grain and making sure we focus on the right amount. So fruits, vegetables and beans should form 75% of your meals, with grains only forming the remaining and not the other way. Right? Most of the times I see that we eat a lot more grains and not enough vegetables and beans and fruits. Those are more like a side dish, whereas they should be the main dish and the grain should be like a side dish. So that's the one fundamental change. And then herbs and spices we are all familiar with. There is a lot of benefit of different herbs and spices. So, that's even better. And as we talked about water, you want to focus on getting the right hydration in the right manner. Hang on. Just bear with me, am I? Trying to advance the slide, but somehow the computer has.
Okay. Yeah. Can you please stop his screen share for a second? Okay. His
Food plant-based, WFPB on the top as you see the logo. The focus is plant foods, but focusing on wholesome foods, not foods which are highly processed or refined. Foods that still have a lot of fiber, they're not been completely modified from the form that we get it from nature. And if you think of what foods to eat unlimited, what to eat in moderation, and what to avoid, that's this traffic light pattern. So green foods are the ones that you can eat in as much amount as you like. Yellow are the ones where you eat in moderation because they do have a higher fat content, so you don't want to overdo them, keeping it to a minimum.
yes.
Like nuts and seeds, handful a day, half an avocado or maybe some coconut shreds or some olives. You don't have to have all of those in a single day. You can vary them through the week. The foods that you can eat unlimited, like we talked again, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, different beans and lentils.
Doctor, do you want him to exit you?
Yeah, I want to stop my screen share because then I'll be able to use my...
Okay. So you exit him for a second? So...
Restart.
Yeah, just hang there. I'll be back. Let's see my screen here. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant.
So, fruits, intake whole grains, herbs and spices, and mushrooms. I mentioned mushrooms here especially because mushrooms are loaded with antioxidants and they also have vitamin D in them. So that's a powerhouse of food, and so that should be part of our meals. And really working on avoiding foods that are in the red area, which is dairy, processed foods from grains and sugars, and meat. Now, I think for Gujarati culture, the biggest issue is dairy, also for Indians in general. But the amount of dairy that people are consuming today's time is way different than what it was 50, 60 years ago. And the amount of labor that people are doing, physical activity, is way lower than what it was before. So the common argument I find people, our forefathers used to eat milk and butter and all this kind of things, but access to those foods for them was very limited. And it was not around the clock. It was only periodic. And the proportion was very less, so you didn't see as much effect. But now we are seeing a lot of cheese and butter being used in day-to-day cooking. And that is definitely something that can affect your microbiome. It affects your body's functioning with the insulin. And going dairy-free, which is a process, but is very possible, can actually get you a lot of results. I was able to lose 20 pounds just like that by just stopping my consumption of milk and yogurt. I used to have 3 glasses of milk and a pound of yogurt every day. And just within 2-3 weeks of stopping that, I was able to lose 20 pounds. And I've been dairy free for 6 years now and still continuing, and it's a lot better way of life than having it. And we have found alternatives for dairy that we use. We make almond yogurt. So we have all the things that we used to have with dairy without having dairy. Going on to activity, again, everybody doesn't need to, have a gym membership and spend an hour in the gym every day. You just need to be more active. And yes, you can take it as more as possible, but going from being sedentary to working in your yard or going for a walk or going for a bike ride or going for swimming, whatever activity you like, making sure you're doing some variety of activity that takes you outside the house, that takes you more active. For people here in Florida, we are blessed with great weather for most of the year, so we are not required to be in the house all the time. So really taking the benefit of that and exposing yourself to some fresh air, sunlight and soil, and at the same time getting activity is a great way to help lower stress, keep your body in motion, get the benefit of that, allow your brain to grow. When we exercise, our body makes a particular protein called BDNF, which allows your brain to create more connections. So when you exercise, you release more BDNF, and that allows your brain to create more connections between the neurons, which is actually a way where you can grow your brain. So this myth that after a certain age your brain starts shrinking is not true. At any age, depending on your lifestyle, you can actually reverse that decline and you can grow your brain to learn new skills and keep active and sharp. We have, our Indian traditions have so many significant systems that we've been taught, but unfortunately, over time, we have lost value of them. I think it's resurging back now in the last few decades. But pranayam, control of your prana, pranayam, is very important, and we need to take deep breaths and provide the body the right oxygen and right balance of air and nutrients. I've listed 3 different pranayams here which are very easy to do on a daily basis: Kapalbhati, Agnisar and Bhastrika. I think Kapalbhati is the most easiest to do. Agnisar and Bhastrika may be a little more technical, but some form of that can allow your body to get towards balance, because it's actually addressing the internal organs and improving your oxygen status, which is allowing your cells to function in a better manner. Like I mentioned, exercise, activity doesn't necessarily mean in the gym, but let's say you have a busy routine and you're at an office setting for long hours. Invest on a standing desk so you can keep the desk up and down, and that allows you to stand up. If you don't have the luxury to do that, just every half an hour or every hour, just stand up, stretch your legs, and come back to your table. But do something that allows you to break that sitting pattern, because studies show that the effect of constant sitting is equivalent to smoking. The same effects that smoking does to our body can also happen when we keep sitting for long hours. So breaking that pattern is important, and the amount of exercise can be adjusted based on your physical condition and schedule, but staying active is if you think about it, we spend close to 30% of our time in the life in sleep. And there's a reason why that happens, because sleep is when if you work out in a gym, your workout actually gets completed in the sleep. What I mean is your body actually repairs damaged tissue and improves all the functioning in the sleep. People who are going to gym and working out, they may have seen a pattern that if they do not sleep well one night, they don't perform the same way the next morning in the gym. And that's because the sleep is a very important aspect of that healing process. It is also important for maintaining good brain function and allowing your body to detoxify. If you don't sleep well for a few nights, your body actually starts, there are cells called dendrites and gliocytes in our brain. They actually start eating your brain tissue. If you don't sleep chronically, you are damaging your brain on an active basis. You're actually eating your brain without realizing. When we sleep, we allow our body to detoxify. We allow the liver to detoxify and all the tissues to detoxify. The last process of detoxification is having a bowel movement. Which is why in Ayurveda it's always been emphasized the best pristine state of bowel health is that in the morning you wake up and you can't even, close the door of the bathroom. It's so urgent that you have to just sit on the commode. That's the best state of your gut health, that your bowels are so trained that the moment you wake up, they need to be empty out. Now, many of us may not be at that stage, but the key I'm trying to convey is if you go to bed by 10, 11, preferentially before 11, but optimally by 10, and wake up between 5 to 6 in the morning, depending on your schedule, you get better quality of sleep versus if you go to bed after midnight and you stay up later. Even if you sleep the same amount, but if you go to bed after midnight, you don't get the same quality of sleep. Your body doesn't relax as much, you don't detoxify as much. And just one night's sleep deficit can actually cause 700 different genes in your body to start producing excess protein, which causes inflammation. So there are n number of reasons why we need to focus on our sleep. I've also included yoga and meditation, again systems that we've been all familiar with. We may not be fully applying it, but they have tremendous benefit for our brain health, for our overall health and well-being. So some form of that, as simple as just taking deep breaths and focusing on your breath and keeping your eyes closed, can get you centered and prevent you from your mind racing forward and backward. So very simple steps. They don't have to be anything special, but simple changes starting with maybe 5 minutes a day, but doing it consistently will get you the sustained benefits. People are on a lot of supplements because they're trying to feel better genuinely, and some supplements may help you for a while, but unless you address your food patterns and your sleep and your activity levels and managing your stress with the right yoga meditation practice, you'll find no amount of supplements will benefit you. The exception to that is there are two supplements that we do need because we cannot get enough of it from food or the other things I mentioned. Number one is B12, and B12 comes from microbes, doesn't come from animals or plants, but the quality of microbes in our gut has been diminished from exposure to antibiotics throughout our life. And the microbiome in the soil has also been affected because of widespread use of pesticides. So trying to eat organic if possible and locally grown, farmers market produce if possible is one way. But reliably, you want to keep your B12 level in good range because it's important for your brain and heart. And low B12 for many years, especially Indians are very predisposed to that, can actually cause irreversible changes to your nervous system, which cannot be reversed. So B12 should not be ignored. Get your levels checked. If they are below 600, then you should take a B12 supplement in the form that I mentioned on the slide here, methylcobalamin. And it should be a quick dissolve format, so something that you put under the tongue or a spray, not something that you swallow, so you get the most benefit. And the next one is vitamin D. Now, going in the sun will get you vitamin D, but it takes up to 48 hours for that vitamin D to properly synthesize and assimilate. So when we take a shower, we destroy half of that effect. Depending on the pollution in the air, we block the UVB rays. Depending on how much clothing we are wearing, we block some of the UVB rays. Depending on your color of the skin, the melanin pigmentation will block the UV rays, the season, time of the day, many variables. So going out in the sun is great and it has all the other benefits that we talked about, but vitamin D, you need a supplement to maintain. So get your level checked. If it's below 40, you need to take vitamin D, no calcium, just the D. And try to keep it between 50 and 80. So keep your level monitored a couple times a year, once in the spring, once in the fall, and take a daily vitamin D supplement with food so it absorbs better. D3 is a better form than D2. We talked about sleep, but over here I'm actually talking about how we can work on a better sleep hygiene. So when we are staring at our cell phones or TV or in the evening hours, we are exposing ourselves to blue light, which actually kills the melatonin which our brain produces to help us fall asleep. So having an hour or 2 hour routine before bedtime that involves staying away from those blue light sources and focusing on some light reading, some relaxing music, taking a warm shower before bedtime, which mimics the effect of melatonin. Maybe doing some journaling, which will allow us to unwind from the day, help us relax, get rid of any negative thoughts. That is a routine you want to build on so that you can get good sleep quality. And get rid of any TV from your bedroom because you don't want to eat or sleep, not sleep, but no, you don't want to eat or watch TV or read a book or do something in the bed. The bed is only for two things, sleeping and getting intimate. Everything else should be outside the bed and the bedroom. So if you have a TV in your bedroom, I think it's an actionable step for you to get rid of it because it's actively hindering your sleep quality. We talked about detox earlier. We talked about how we can connect with nature and help balance our, elements, but also avoiding plastic in our day-to-day life, not cooking in a microwave, focusing on growing some fruits and vegetables in your backyard or trying to get some organic produce. Focusing on what type of shampoo and body wash and detergents you're using. There are so many brands now which are more eco-conscious and not loaded with chemicals and that are good for us. So try to step by step clean out your use of different chemicals. So one simple one I can tell you, there is a liquid called Dr. Bonner's soap. It's a liquid. It's actually made from different plant sources and different essential oils. It's very non-toxic, and that's the one we use for our hand soap, for our dishwashing. You can even use it as a spray on your plants if they have a lot of fungus. But there are so many uses of that simple liquid that can get rid of so many toxic chemicals from your day-to-day environment. Having some indoor plants like, we have money plants all the time in Indian households, having some aloe tree, shrubs, some fern. Those type of plants will beautify your interior and at the same time clean the air because indoor air has a lot of pollution more than outdoor air. And what type of water do we consume? People are getting bottled water, which you're basically paying for the plastic bottle. The water comes from a stream source or a spring, but you're paying for the plastic. You're adding all that BPA. So having a reverse osmosis, system in your house, you can get a over-the-top countertop RO filter, or you can get something installed under your kitchen sink. But investing on that and then using the alkaline options like mint and cucumber and ginger in your water would be a better way to get clean water because unfortunately what happened in Flint, Michigan is not just there, it happens across the country. We have chemicals and pesticides and organic and inorganic substances. We even have medications in the water supply. So there is value to having a good reverse osmosis system. And sweating every day. When we sweat, we release toxins. You can have a sauna if you want to spend that money, or you can just go work out outside and sweat. Focusing on some green juices like mint, celery, ginger, lemon, that can help you detox. Three things actually later. Fasting. So again, fasting upvas has been part of our tradition, but we have kind of modified it over time where we have more food in our upvas in form of refined and processed stuff and not really doing upvas. So the word farar actually comes from falahar. Eating fruits was a way to do fast before, but the falahar has become up-rounded into farar, and now we have buff vada and bhajia and this and that sabudana, which is all completely processed and refined. But having a routine where every day between morning hours, morning to later evening is when you eat. So what I tell people is follow the sun. As the sun goes up, we start eating. As the sun reaches the zenith in the middle of the day, that's when we should have the biggest meal. And as the sun starts going down, we should stop eating. So after 6, 7 p.m., we should have a hard stop on no food. This Chauviyar tradition in Jainism is very scientific. So that after sun goes down, you do not consume any food. That, you may think of it as a ritual, but it actually has all our, religious patterns actually have scientific basis. It's just that the scientific basis has not been passed on. And people over time just thought of it as a ritual and not realize that it was actually a way of life which was being passed on. So following Chauviyar is great for your health because it allows your body to not have food to digest and just focus on detoxification. Because every time we eat food, our body has to focus on digestion. So if we have time when the body is not having any food, it can really allow the body to detox and cleanse itself and improve your health. It can help your blood pressure, it can help your sugars. If you're diabetic, obviously, or you're taking any medications, you want to work with your physician to design a plan where you can safely reduce them when you're fasting or, modify them. You don't want to do a fast and keep taking your medications because then you can end up with low blood sugar or low blood pressure, which can be quite devastating. So don't do it without any supervision if you are diabetic or have high blood pressure. But it is possible. That's the key. We talked about grounding earlier. And the last thing is water detox, cyber detox. We're surrounded with social media and technology. We need to have a few hours each day or a few hours each week where we shut off the phone, we stay away from any media and just spend time in the nature. We need to connect back to the nature and it has to be part of our routine. It could be every day, it could be once a month, it could be once a week, but some routine which allows you to go away from this virtual world. So it's quite ironic that we are talking actually in a virtual space right now through Zoom, but allowing your body to be back in nature and be one with nature and not keep in this virtual environment all the time. One quick note on, your mindset and emotional health. When you carry old wounds and grudges for any person or any relationships, that person may or may not get any damage, but you are actively hurting yourself on a daily basis. So we're working on forgiveness. I'm going to revert back again to Jainism. During Paryushan, Samvatsari, we tell Michhami Dukram to each other. But that is something not just to tell once a year. That is something that you should be practicing on a daily basis. And yes, life happens and we may react to things. But if we keep that mindset of analyzing our behaviors and working on forgiving others and having gratitude for our life, there is tons of data that shows that we actually improve our brain health, we lower our cortisol, we improve our blood sugars, we improve our blood pressure. There are a number of benefits to working on forgiveness and gratitude. And, when you look at someone who has more and you start comparing things, but if you just look at very basic, simple things, the example I will give, which I've actually borrowed from Sadhguru, mentions a lot about this, Jaggi Vasudev, that, billions of people around the planet, close to 200,000 people do not wake up every morning. We lose 200,000 people every day. Just the fact that you woke up alive in the morning is a reason to be gratitude and joyous about. Your family members woke up alive, more reasons to have gratitude. Your extended family and friends are alive, more reasons to have gratitude. There are simple low-hanging fruits that you can hold on to that can help you build gratitude. You don't need $1 million to have gratitude. And same thing, when you have a positive mindset, your body releases good, chemicals in the brain. You feel better, you have lower stress. you improve your energy meridians, you turn your body into a healing machine, you align your mind with the body and lead to better results. So I know we went a little overboard. There was a lot of things to cover, but if we summarize, balancing your 5 elements, like I mentioned, eating a whole plant food based eating pattern which is live and energy and vibrant, and avoiding dead foods coming from too processed foods or coming from animal kingdom, staying active, connecting with nature, rest, relaxation, positive mindset, and detoxification. So, two quotes to end with. Ayurveda has said all the time that when the diet is wrong, medication is of no use, and if the diet is correct, medication is of no need. And Hippocrates has also said that our body has the best healing power in the world. All we need to do is allow it to do its job. So thank you everyone for your attention. I think we can take some questions. I've listed some of my media handles on the lower part of the screen.
So thank you, Dr. Soham, and yes, it was a great information, wonderful talk. And before we go for the question answer, I would like for a minute to opinion from the participant. Any of you would like to share something about this talk? Unmute कर बताना.
Yeah, Mr. Kamdar.
Yeah.
I'm not able to.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. I have to ask. Unmute.
Yeah, they have to do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I unmuted, but then he muted me back. Okay. First of all, I'd like to, say that this was excellent presentation. Soham, you're true to your name, going back to your Soham or in the side of it, and integrating. Also, because my wife is a dietitian, and we had worked with a project with Dr. Puchmoni 20, 30 years ago, and he was talking about plant-based food and things like that. And it's interesting that in India, we should all be very familiar with it and doing it and getting maybe 35 grams of fiber automatically, but after coming here for 50 grams. Oh, by you really gone up. In those days, we used to say 35, like, Dr. Puchmani used to say 35. Maybe he just wanted to move the needle a little bit for the people. But so, I think that we should, I really like what you are doing, and maybe we should figure out a forum where more people can hear some doctors like you, because they don't listen to dietitians, they listen to doctors probably. But this is a very important message, not just for the Indian community, but even most for the American community.
There is actually, as I mentioned earlier, there is thank you for your feedback, Mr. Kamdar. I'm very grateful that you have actually got on to this very early on, but I think people are catching up with the message. But there is actually American College of Lifestyle Medicine that was founded in the year 2005. Last year was the 15th anniversary. We have close to 3,000 delegates who have taken the board certification for lifestyle medicine, and more than 6,000 members across the world. So American College of Lifestyle Medicine is something that everyone can look up. I think the website is called lifestylemedicine.org. So there are a lot more physicians and health professionals which are getting the message, and they're working on improving their life and their patient's life. But it is still a small portion. We still have a lot of work to do. It's I've been in practice for the last 8 years, but the last 5 years I have been investing my time on keeping on educating people. I've done talks in temples and churches, and I've been part of different seminars and sessions. This COVID pandemic put a break to a lot of things, but then we have done more so stuff through online like Zoom and YouTube sessions. So I actually had a session on thyroid just an hour before this morning with one of the physicians from India. Um, so yes, it's changing, but a lot more needs to be done.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Soham, and thank you, Mr. Kamdar. Let's take question answer. If anyone has any question, please raise your hand. Yes, Sharad Bhai, please go ahead.
I was wondering if this presentation can be put on YouTube. This is an excellent presentation. It covered a whole range of topics which are so vital to our daily life. I really appreciate it very much.
Was the recording done?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we can.
It is recorded, it can be put on YouTube. It will be helpful to those who could not attend the program.
Yes, Sharad Bhai, we'll try to do it. Chaitanya Bhai has already recorded it, so we'll try to put it on YouTube, and I will inform everyone at that time.
Great, thank you so much.
Yes, anyone else?
You can visit Chaitanya.
Kamlesh Bhai, how did you like it?
That was very good. I think the presentation is very simple and easy for people to follow and understand. The only thing people most of the time miss is they start focusing on one piece of the information rather than looking at the balancing between the variety of foods, exercise and mental exercise as well. So the balancing part is the key that people just lose in overall aggressiveness and to trying to achieve one piece of the desire and then lose the other rest of the activity.
Yeah, you really picked out a very important point, and I see that happen quite a bit. Is people get super focused on something and then they lose track of all the other things. So what I would expand on that is, when you're making changes on your food. If you are someone who likes to go 100%, then that's it. You go 100%, make the food changes. But if you are someone who is not like that and likes to make incremental changes, then it is better to stick with that incremental progress of things and still keep your mental balance, because if you go 100% and you are not enjoying the process, you're going to create more stress, which we're actually trying to reduce. So you don't want to lose the balance in the process. It doesn't need perfection, it needs execution. So you start somewhere, keep building up on it step by step, and then eventually within a few months and a year, you will realize you've improved quite a bit. So perfection is not the goal, execution is.
Yeah, go ahead. I have one question. Like as you said that the most important meal of the day should be our lunch, not the dinner. But in the lifestyle we have in US, most of us come back from the work in the evening and have our main meal at evening. So what do you like?
That is fine. As I said, I was talking about what we want to work towards. But if your schedule doesn't allow you to have a bigger meal in the middle of the day, and your dinner is a bigger meal, that is okay. But as long as you're focusing on eating whole plant foods that are, so you're eating lots of vegetables and beans and lentils, some whole grains, and then making sure that once you have your dinner by 7:30, depending whatever your schedule permits, you put a hard stop. Then after eating dinner, don't keep grazing on things. So yes, your schedule may not allow you to eat a bigger meal in the middle of the day, but it can still allow you to not graze at night and not stick, watch TV till midnight and then go to bed by after midnight.
So ideally, how many hours of the fasting every day after taking our dinner? Maybe 7 o'clock. What it should be?
Minimum 12.
Okay.
If you can do 16 is more optimal, but minimum 12. So let's say 7 p.m. is when you finish dinner, or 8 p.m. is when you finish dinner, then till 8 next morning you want to not eat. You get 12 hours. Ideal, again, not that everybody has to go there, but if you have the liberty of time and schedule to do that, then trying to eat between 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is the best. So you break your fast around 10, you have your bigger meal by 12, 1, and then a fruit snack before dinner, and then you eat dinner by 6, and that's end of it. But if it doesn't allow in your schedule, that's fine. Minimum 12 hours, if you can get that, that's a good start.
Correct. Anyone else? Yes, Sharat bhai, go ahead.
I live in a community of seniors in the Cabarrus, and the main reason we selected the place was the possibility of living amongst people of like-minded, friendly nature, and the point that you made about living with people with mutual love and respect and so forth, I put very heavy emphasis on that, particularly at retirement stage.
We are a social animal, so if we are away from society, we don't need excess of it, but we need a healthy ratio of, we don't need 100 friends.
Right.
We have 2 or 3 or 5 good relationships in our life that we, and what I call by good is that you can call them any time of the day or night and they would be there to help you. You don't need a million, you just need 2 or 3 or 5, whatever your optimal number is to have in life, and be with like-minded people, and that allowing that interaction allows your body to produce good chemicals in the brain. You produce dopamine and serotonin when you interact with people. So the biggest casualty of this pandemic is people have socially distanced, but they have also mentally distanced themselves from others to a large extent, and we are seeing a huge amount of mental health issues and depression. And I can tell you that majority of my diabetes patients, their A1Cs went up in the pandemic because they all got holed up in the house, but they somehow forgot to keep the interactions, and all that fear and anxiety led to more stress eating and things just going down the hill. So being in a community that is at the balance is very important.
The other important thing was that we have a kitchen where they serve food, so we are now getting used to having definite set of foods at definite timing. So the whole eating process was very well regulated. That was another big plus.
I think Sharat bhai, are you from Shanti Niketan?
Yes.
Oh, I
Cabarrus.
see. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Anyone else?
I would like you guys to visit us sometime.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I would like you to visit us sometime.
Definitely. I would like Dr. Soham to come there and give his another presentation there, because those are the people,
Sure.
right, Sharat?
Yeah, we can organize it. Yes.
Yes, we can do that. Anyone else?
Very good.
So we are just concluding this session. Anyone else? Last call?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Praveen.
Okay, go ahead, Praveen bhai.
Is Splenda is good to have it, or it's not good sugar?
Splenda is an artificial sweetener like Sweet and Low and all these other ones, sucralose, aspartame. I'm just giving you different names and examples. Those actually modify your microbiome, like I mentioned earlier. And it also affects your liver, it toxifies the liver, it can also cause headaches and migraines. In some extreme situations, it can also cause seizures. Are not a good substitute. You can use dates, khajur ne palade ne any paste banai devani.
Right.
Refrigerator. So you can use it as a liquid sweetener. Pure maple syrup is one other alternative, but again, use a small amount. It has a lower glycemic index than honey, so it is better than honey in that aspect. But again, the amount is the key. You cannot just start putting a lot of it, saying it is healthy, and then anything healthy too much can also cause an issue. So date paste is the best option. We use date all the time in our cooking and foods, and if not, then a little bit of maple syrup, but staying away from artificial sweeteners.
So I can have a date paste in my coffee too.
Yeah, It may be a little different taste initially, but then you get used to that.
Okay. Or either honey, right? Honey too.
Honey, as I said, honey has a higher glycemic index, meaning that it will release more sugar faster compared to maple syrup. So between maple syrup and honey, maple syrup is a better option. But again, the key is the amount. Maple syrup સારું છે એટલે પછી ધપકાઈ નહીં જવાનું પછી.
Nana, thank you so much for your concern.
Yeah.
And very nice program. You gave us advice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Som. All the information. Auntie. You know, I learned one thing today, that I have to sleep better. I am not sleeping. I never knew that it will affect eventually our brain, you know, and I really, it was a wake-up call for me. So thank you.
It's a universal issue. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I've also had times where I did not have good sleep hygiene. But the fact is that we have to recognize that and keep working on it.
Yeah.
The best motivator that I found myself to use this is the fact that knowing that if I don't sleep well, I'm actually making my brain cells tweak itself. I think that's enough of a deterrent for me to focus on better sleep routine.
Yeah, thank you. But you know, I was thinking like instead of sleeping 10 to 6, I would rather want to sleep by 12, 12:30 to 8:30 or 9 because I'm not a morning person. So usually I always go to sleep by 12, you know.
So it's a process. If you work on your routine, કે ભાઈ ટીવી ની જગ્યાએ પછી કઈ વાંચતા હો, you know, relaxing music સાંભળતા હો, જે તમને ગમતું હોય, Indian classical music, whatever. But when you build that routine, then your body automatically starts shifting the cycle. એટલે પછી you are able to fall asleep. And then you are able to fall asleep sooner, then you're able to wake up sooner. So it's a shift. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a process.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Soham, very quick, one question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Do you recommend anything for sleep medication? Because it's a hard time for sleeping at night, you know.
So melatonin supplements have some value, but again, it's a little tricky. If you're diabetic and you take melatonin, it can actually increase insulin resistance. But if you're having hard time sleeping, in spite of making all those changes that I mentioned with the sleep hygiene, then you can take 2 to 4 milligrams of melatonin at night, half an hour before bedtime, and that can help. But again, it's not a long-term, supplement that you want to stay on. It's an acute measure that you can use. But focusing on lifestyle change is a better and more long-lasting effect.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I?
ધર્મીબેન પૂછવું છે કઈ?
Excellent.
Thank you. Yes, ચંદ્રકાંત ભાઈ, please go ahead.
ઓકે મારે પૂછ્યું કે દહીંને દૂધ ખાવાની ના પાડે છે તો હવે તો ચા કોફી ન પીતા તો દૂધ તો પીવું પડે તો શું લેવું જોઈએ એના બદલે?
Soy milk છે, organic non-GMO soy milk. સોયાબીન માંથી જે દૂધ બને ને
ધારો કે દિવસમાં એક ગ્લાસ એક દૂધ પીએ તો મારે નુકસાન કરે?
હા, નુકસાન કરે ને. એ દૂધ તમારું એસિડિક છે, તમારા હાડકા પોચા કરે, તમારી કોલેસ્ટ્રોલ વધારે, તમારા લીવર તકલીફ કરે, તમારા આંતરડાને તકલીફ કરે, ઘણી બધી ઇફેક્ટ આવે એની.
એટલે રેગ્યુલર દહીં પણ ના ખવાય એમ?
દહીંમાં બી દહીંના જે બેક્ટેરિયા છે, બેક્ટેરિયા તમને બેનિફિટ નહીં કરે, કારણ કે દહીંમાં જે પ્રોટીન ફેટ આવે છે એ એકચ્યુઅલી તમારા પેટને વધારે હેરાન કરે. મારું આ સ્ક્રીન પર તમને દેખાય છે? મારું સ્ક્રીન ઓર્ગેનિક અનસ્વીટન જે આવે ને એમાં ખાલી 2 જ વસ્તુ હોય છે, પાણી અને ઓર્ગેનિક સોયાબીન. વોલમાર્ટમાં બી મળે છે, સ્પ્રાઉટ્સમાં મળે છે.
એનું નામ છે વેટ્સકી, સોરી,
વેસ્ટ
સોયાબીન નું દૂધ.
પણ અનસ્વીટન વાળું લેવાનું, સ્વીટ પ્લેન વાળું નહીં, અનસ્વીટન, એટલે એમાં બીજું કઈ શુગર કે એવું ના હોય.
ડાયાબિટીસમાં ગોળ ખવાય ખાંડના સુગરના બદલે
ગોળ ઇફેક્ટ કારણ કે